Ino hatikai tungaswapigitsi tamani topiu yugut. Hello and welcome. My name is Madeline Alakkarellak.
Ndio aweti ashkenoniak yes. Wendat indi yanyonya iwahit tiokuta Charles Bender yatsi. Bonjour, je m'appelle Charles Bender.
Today is a day of honoring. A day of remembrance, a day of listening, and a day of commitment. We gather here on Parliament Hill and in our communities across Turtle Island to honor those who never made it home from residential schools, those who survived them, and the families forever changed by it all.
The legacy of residential schools, day schools, the 60s scoop, and the child welfare system have had a devastating impact on Indigenous people and our society at large. In the name of education, Indigenous children were systematically removed from their homes and families, forbidden to speak their languages, and in some cases, were never seen again. For decades, these schools tried to carry out their mission, to kill the Indian within the child. We are here today because they failed.
On this day of national mourning, of truth-telling and healing, we must all renew our commitment as individual citizens on the path to reconciliation. Bearing witness to truth is only one small step.
Nous avons tous une part à jouer pour qu'il y ait une véritable guérison. À l'automne, nouveaux arrivants, jeunes et moins jeunes, c'est à nous de s'engager en posant des gestes concrets au quotidien.
Live from the unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation, this is Remembering the Children National Day for Truth and Reconciliation.
Se souvenir des enfants, journée nationale de la vérité et de la réconciliation.
Tamani ikakauyumi tusakvihatanyagatami sunik. Over the next hour and a half, we'll share a series of tributes to those taken from us far too soon.
We will hear from survivors, thrivers, and witness their strength.
As we often do when we begin with ceremony. As members of our opening procession arrive to bear witness, they will bring them with them a very special object. This is a red cedar bentwood box.
Handcrafted for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission by Coast Salish artist Luke Marston. This box was at all TRC events. And Luke, the artist, is with us again today, helping to carry the box he created to preserve the deeply personal items, each signifying healing and hope.
Its faces reflect the distinct cultures of former First Nations, Inuit, and Métis students.
Nous aimerions maintenant inviter le chef de la nation de Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabe à nous adresser la parole.
Please welcome Chief Dylan White Duck and Councillor Frankie Cote.
Good afternoon, everyone. To all Canadians and to all Indigenous peoples across this country. First, I'd like to acknowledge the Creator, my family, my council, my community, and acknowledge all First Nations people who were impacted by the residential school system. My name is Dylan White Duck, and I am the proud chief of a thriving Algonquin community called Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabe. I am humbled here to speak here today on our unceded, unsurrendered lands. It's important to recognize our people occupied this territory and lands for time immemorial and continue to do so today presently. This September 30th, 2023 marks the third National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. I applaud all First Nations people across Turtle Island who continue to be resilient, courageous, and prosperous. So miigwech. Canada is taking some strides towards reconciliation. I'll admit that. But I challenge this country to do better. And I extend this challenge to all Canadians who know that they could do better. Let's never forget these important facts. Number one, First Nations people helped build this country dating back to the fur trade. Fact number two, we fought in many wars alongside you, and they were won because of our help. Fact number three, the treaties that were signed must be upheld with recognition and honored every day. And finally, number four, resources continue to be extracted from all of our First Nation territories across this country. Today, First Nation communities do have goals. We seek prosperity. We want a sustainable future, and we want our Indigenous languages back. But unfortunately, we are in a survival mode, and this is unacceptable. We ask you to help us achieve these goals. Let us all work towards economic reconciliation and reshape this great country, not for today, but for the next 7 generations. On behalf of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe, I welcome you today. And let us always remember that every child matters. Miigwech kakana, and have yourself a great day, everybody.
Chief White Duck and Councillor Cote. Our next speaker was recently appointed as the 15th Chancellor of the University of Ottawa, the very first Indigenous woman to hold that role. She is Algonquin from Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabe.
Écoutons maintenant l'aînée Claudette Commanda.
Survivors, families, communities, honored guests, Canadians, We gather here today remembering the children, to honor, to respect, and to show love. We must come together in that sacred circle of life. We must come together in that sacred circle of prayer. We must come together in that sacred circle of love. The Creator has blessed us with voice, with spirit, and with heart to give honor to the Creator. Together with that one mind, one heart, one spirit, and one voice, let us acknowledge the Creator, and we say, Chimigwech, Kishimnado, Migwech, Kinakego. We thank the Creator for all of His blessings. We come together, brothers and sisters, to raise our voice with love and kindness, to say a prayer, our prayer of love, to all the survivors who are here with us, to all those survivors who did not return home, and to all the children. Remembering the children. Chimigwej ni jenwen daganag. Kichimigwej kishimanado kichimigwej onji kizagi dewin. We thank the Creator for His love. To each and every one of you, beautiful people who are here in this circle, without love, there's no healing. And what each and every one of our survivors pray for as we say this prayer from our heart today, let us show that love to the survivors. And we thank the Creator for blessing us with such a beautiful day. As we thank our ancestors for always praying for us, Miigwech, for their prayer. Thank you for all of us being here today to say that prayer of love. And just remember, hope is free, as the Creator's blessed us with hope. I love you all. Kichimigwech and Ichkiwedog, Kizagian, I love you all. Miigwech.
Chimigwech, Claudette Commanda, de nous avoir offert ces mots d'accueil. Nous aimerions également remercier les chanteurs Eagle River Singers, artistes algonquins de Kitigan-Zibi et du lac Barrière. Notre prochain invité est connu comme grand défenseur des droits autochtones et des droits de la personne.
With a lifetime of accomplishments too numerous to list, Dr. Willie Littlechild has embodied tremendous leadership throughout his career as an accomplished lawyer, a respected politician, and exceptional athlete. Please welcome Dr. Willie Littlechild.
Tansin totemtik nigan semanto netatam hiknstahi ego kasemina esoim go ahkanovts kakio tatam skadna epenogota ek esagitoya magaste epekiskutatoayak oasis egwahuskaya ekadniganotet. Hello, my friends and relatives. First, I want to express utmost gratitude to the Great Spirit in however way you acknowledge our Creator, God. A warm handshake of love and friendship to every one of you, especially because you came here to remember, to give tribute to the child's spirit, and to all youth who went before us on their spirit journey. I'm saddened this morning. I joined my sister in her last traveling song as she's dying today, a former residential school student. Very importantly, though, I also want to honor the survivors for your resilience, your courage, and your strength. You are thrivers. The challenge now is, what do we do to have good relations? What do we do to restore respectful relationships? How do we advance true reconciliation? Your Excellencies, our Governor General Mary Simon, and Vice Regal Consort Whit Fraser, thank you. Thank you for your much appreciated support in that collective effort. Bigo, kakamemoyak, atoskewin, atoskatoyak. We must work together. Akamemotan, we need to work harder than we can if we are to succeed. Finally, as a former Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner, I would encourage us to double our efforts in advancing reconciliation. How? Where there's hatred, let us sow love. Ita pagwatuin e itagok, sagito en opinetan. Where there's injury, pardon. Ita awiyak eusigohit, pune tamatoin. Where there is doubt, faith. Ita epometamak, tapwe kakyokiam, tapwe tatan. Where there's despair, hope. Ita ekipagtemok, akamemutan. For it is in giving that we receive. Itahanma, kawipinasoyak, kamigosiak, ay naskumtnao.
Nos remerciements à Dr. Willie Littlechild, Kinanas Kumitten. Thank you. Nous aimerions prendre un moment pour souligner l'engagement des nombreux partenaires diffuseurs qui participent à cette journée importante.
We are very proud to see Canadians from coast to coast to coast come together on this day of honor as we honor the survivors and grieve the profound impacts of genocide. But we are still far from implementing all of the 94 calls to action as outlined by the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And we have yet to see every province mark this day as an official statutory holiday.
Notre premier artiste vient également de Kitigan-Zibi Anishinaabe, où il a appris à jouer du violon avec son oncle et en observant ses parents.
Although the years he spent at St. Mary's Residential School that took much away from him, he was able to return to his community and to the music that has never left him. Dunga Sutilavut Ilunata, please welcome Eddie Pezenawaj Kote.
Anishinaabe Algonquin Nation. Anderson Babon, Sebabon, Egidaz, President School card. Gi Wajay, and Betal, Schnabe, Bianity, Again Pacto, go, Nagi, no, you know, went up to the sea. Tajmanavi, go, Schnabe, but Koshimini Casey. Anyway, I was in resident school for many years, you know, then I didn't forget. You know, every time I speak my language over there, I couldn't talk for 5 years. So there, today I'm glad to see all the schnabs, you know, they're from the Gonzivi especially. There's my partner Tim White Duck is my partner for the music. He has been with me for a while, so we're gonna do that. So all the ones that sit in front of this is all this. No, I hope you guys get up. And there's going to be a short one, though. That's going to be a kind of sad song. That was the one I wrote. I call it Residential School Song.
Nakokmi Marialuk. Ipinakaintuk. Thank you, Eddie Pezantewach Kote, for that beautiful performance. Nakokmi.
Provenant du territoire Mi'kmaq, notre prochaine invitée est une ambassadrice hors pair pour sa communauté et une véritable championne de justice sociale.
She is third-generation survivor. She is land defender. She is water protector, water walker, cultural teacher, grandmother, and so much more. Her work focuses on education and environmentalism through Indigenous perspectives. Please welcome Doreen Bernard.
Mindalawasi kasidam dandaliunui. Gilnik Octodum. Ak Sibaganegri, Ak Mi'kmaq. My spirit name is I Love My Indian Ways. I'm Otter Clan. I'm Sibaganegri in Mi'kmaq. Well, Alan, Elder Commander, for your beautiful prayer. My fellow survivors and families and leaders, medicine people, Her Excellency, Governor General Mary Simon, and the Senators, Francis, Baptiste, and Prosper, and all government members, and special guests, and to all the survivors who are joining us here and across Canada and beyond. Walaliak, thank you for being here. Be with us to bear witness to this third National Day of Truth and Reconciliation, to honor the survivors of the Indian residential school institutions in Canada. We honor and we remember Mi'kmaq Dedemik, all those who are now our ancestors, watching over us in the spirit world. We are here because you survived genocide. We honor and remember Mi'kmaq Dedemik, the children who died in the Indian residential school institutions, the missing children who never came home, and the children who have been found, the ones that we are still searching for. We will never forget you. We honor all the trailblazers who started the Wellbriety movements to battle addictions and help people to learn to love themselves and Creator again. We honor all who preserved and revitalized our cultures and our languages, our traditions, and our ceremonies to help us to heal traumas and to learn to live good life. We honor all who stand to protect our Indigenous rights and human rights in Mother Earth and the water for our future generations, all our Nogama. We honor all those who broke down those barriers to education, to teach our true history of Indigenous peoples that was erased for generations. The historians, the authors, the poets, the artists, the professionals, all who inspire us today. We honor the courage of survivors who led the fight for justice, to speak our truth, to tell Canada and the world we survived genocide. We honor the survivors and all our descendants who are struggling with the impacts of residential schools today. We honor all those who stand with us, who work and help and support us. Walaliak. I honor my mom and my family and my children and grandchildren and send my love to you today. Msit Nogama, all my relations. Walaliak.
Nakomik, Elder Doreen Bernard, for your beautiful message.
Nous invitons maintenant la directrice exécutive du Centre national pour la vérité et la réconciliation à nous adresser la parole. Please welcome Stephanie Scott.
Bonjour, good afternoon. Miskwa Nakwatakwe Indigenous Wabashishi Dodem, Winnipeg Dunji, Treaty 1 territory. I am the daughter of a survivor, and I am also a 60 Scoop survivor. I'd like to say thank you to Chief Dylan White Duck for welcoming us to the unceded lands of the Algonquin Nation, and Elder Commanda for the beautiful prayer. I say miigwech to all First Nations, Métis, Inuit survivors. We are here today because of you and your strength and your courage. There would have not been an apology, there would not have been a Truth and Reconciliation Commission or a National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation. Survivors insisted the truth of residential schools must never be forgotten. The National Day for Truth and Reconciliation is a day to honor all Indigenous survivors who are with us and those children who died in those institutions. We must respect all survivors, amplify their voice, and call out the deniers. We must challenge the people who don't want to face the truth. The residential school system was intended to destroy First Nations, Inuit, and Métis cultures and our languages, but they did not succeed. For those that never made it home, their spirits call out to us to be remembered and to be honored. We have a powerful symbol of those truths. The National Student Memorial Register carries the names of 4,140 names of children identified through the records in the NCTR's care and the statements of their families. Our research is ongoing. We still don't have all the records. The NCTR continues to work with churches, governments, and others so we can finally access the 23 million records that were not released to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission of Canada. We know more children will be found and their names will be added. The memorial banner was created through sacred ceremony, and we are sharing it here today in that same spirit. As the banner is lifted, some of our special guests will honor the children and show their commitment to this important act of remembrance. They will place shoes on the stage to represent the children whose stories have yet to be told, but whose in spirits we honor. I'd like to introduce Métis artist Ry Moran, founding director of the National Centre for Truth and Reconciliation, to perform his song, Feel You Here, during the procession. Thank you, and miigwech.
To those souls who've passed, whose world didn't last, we're here to sing your song. 'Cause although you may be gone, I feel you here. I feel you here. I feel you here. to the trees and to the sea. You've been brought to your knees, and I can't figure out just how we live without, 'cause I feel you here. I feel you here. I feel you here. And still this fire burns, and there's lessons yet to be learned, until these flames die down. Your spirit is here in our sound, and to you I call. Oh, catch us as we fall. I feel you here. Je te sens ici. I feel you here. feel you here. I feel you here.
Kaya nga takama. Thank you, Stephanie Scott. Ang iyong tiwakalumik. Thank you, Roy Moran. You had us crying. It's okay to cry. Thank you for that. We needed that. That was a beautiful performance. Nakukming.
Notre prochain invité est né à Fort Resolution, au bord du lac Great Slave. Fière membre de la nation métisse de l'Alberta, elle est récipiendaire de nombreuses reconnaissances, notamment la médaille du jubilé de diamant de la reine Élisabeth II et le prix du gouverneur général.
She is a decorated leader and tireless advocate for her community and beyond, from friendship centers to regional councils, from children's care to elders' care. Tunga suktitaw ka, pili, Elder Angie Criar.
On February 29th, 1880, a letter from Bishop Grandin was addressed to the Canadian government. Bishop wrote, "If you bring us 100 Indians and half-breeds to the mission, where they leave our convent, they would no longer be Indians. They would become good citizens, earn a good living, and be useful to their country." And so it began, as across Canada, from coast to coast, as children were taken from their families. The opening of the residential school started the most tragic, destructive, and separation of the Native people and loss of our values and culture. We were witness to the darkest time in Canada's history. As usual, many thousands and thousands of our people have suffered from addiction, sexual abuse, depression, and personal relationships. We were savages and had to embrace the white man's way of life and language. We have paid a high price for our years in residential school. And the nuns used to leave us and tell us, "I left my home, my country, my family to teach you savages, and you must forget everything that your parents were taught, or you were full of sin and you'll go to hell." The horror, heartaches, and pain which reached down for generations and is today. We suffered and endured cruelly and depression, crying for the loss of our language, values, and culture, which has left us a legacy of loss at so many levels. The two main objectives of the federal government were, number one, to remove the children from the influence of their home, families, traditions, and culture, to teach them to accept the dominant society. They assumed that our culture, our language, and spiritual beliefs were inferior. And to educate us, they had to kill the Indians they had to kill the Indian of the child. We must admire and respect the resilience of these children, which endured and survived. And we are still here, a proud people. A proud people who could not be destroyed, but at what cost? We learn to kiss away the tears and walk away the fears. Truth and reconciliation is a walk of generations and a lifetime. Be kind to one another. Respect each other in values and traditional ways. Forgive and let love rule your day. For we are never victims. We are survivors.
Nakukmeek Elder Angie Kriar, we thank you for sharing your story with all of us.
Notre prochain invité est originaire de Machteouias, dans la région du Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean au Québec. Elle a consacré sa vie à la transmission des connaissances culturelles aux prochaines générations et est une ambassadrice incontournable pour sa communauté. Voici maintenant Télèche Bégin.
Gwen, est-ce que nous sommes dans le style de mon style de man, de quelque chose de ma goyan, passionnant, innou. Je me suis tapé de boubon. J'ai encore beaucoup de difficultés à parler de mon passage pensionnat ancien après tant d'années. Je n'ai même jamais parlé à mes parents, ni à mes grands-parents. La peur de brimer leur confiance envers Dieu, envers les représentants de l'Église, représentantes aussi. Aujourd'hui, je suis mère de 3 enfants, grand-mère de 9 petits-enfants, un petit-fils arrière et un autre qui va naître bientôt. Je suis ici aujourd'hui pour leur lancer un message d'espoir. Je ne veux pas, surtout pas, leur laisser un héritage de mes blessures, de mon passé, évidemment. Je veux leur laisser quelque chose de bien, soit l'espoir d'un meilleur avenir pour nos nations, pour me libérer de ce que je garde beaucoup trop longtemps dans mon cœur et dans ma tête. Profonde conviction de mon être, je l'affirme, conviction que la plus haute société du Québec et du Canada, ainsi que tous les Canadiens et les Canadiennes, entendront et comprendront mon message d'espoir. C'est ma vérité, malgré ce que j'ai vécu au pensionnat. Que cet espoir de nos relations en nous, une grande nation, soit plus égalité et respectueux des droits de chacun. Je ne veux pas que mes enfants et mes petits-enfants vivent ce que j'ai vécu. Jamais nous oublierons ces enfants qui n'ont pas eu la chance de retourner trouver leurs parents, leurs proches. C'est pourquoi je vous livre ce message d'espoir aujourd'hui. Ce n'est que maintenant, ni une télèche, je vous aime.
Chineshkumeten pour ce partage et votre grande sagesse est né Telesh Bégin.
Growing up in Treaty 1 territory in Manitoba, our next performer has kept strong her ties to her Métis heritage and her homeland.
Cette connexion identitaire influence grandement sa démarche artistique, comme nous sommes à la veille de l'entendre. Voici l'auteur, compositrice, interprète, Willows.
Bon après-midi. Nos territoires font partie de nous. Les grandes plaines, les lacs, les forêts et les rivières qui coulent dans nos veines. Je crois que nous portons cette connexion forte dans nos cœurs, partout où nous allons. Mes ancêtres, tout comme plusieurs familles de la nation métisse, ont été séparés de leur famille et de leur communauté et ont perdu leur terre quand le gouvernement canadien a mis en place le système des certificats, le SCRIP system. C'est en français et en métis français que j'ai composé cette chanson pour les honorer et qui parle de la liberté d'être qui nous sommes. Un bout de papier à $1 par acre, signé par un X en échange de quoi? Ton présent, ton avenir, ta terre, tes droits, une partie de toi. Mais toi, tu n'appartiens à personne, sinon à la plaine, au ciel, au bois. Tu viens des gens libres, toi et tu lis un an, 2 ans sans le sou, sans la terre. 4 ans, 5 ans, les promesses en l'air. Des routes, un pays, un chemin de fer. Construire à quel prix? Mais toi, tu n'appartiens à personne, sinon à la plaine, au ciel, au bois. Tu viens des gens libres, toi et tu lis métier fou. Ça va essayer de t'acheter, ça va essayer de détruire. Les goddamn arrivent, la peur d'amène. Tu feras ce que tu dois pour survivre à la tempête, mais ton cœur n'oubliera pas que toi tu n'appartiens à personne, sinon à la plaine, au ciel, au bois. Tu viens des gens libres, toi et tu lis métier fou. Toi tu n'appartiens à personne, sinon à la plaine, au ciel, au bois. Tu viens des gens libres, toi et tu lis métier.
What a beautiful performance. Nakukmeik, Willows. Inukatika, born in 1947 near the small village of Kainsualuchuak, Nunavik. Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Mary Simon, Governor General of Canada, and her siblings went to an English-only federal day school in Kuujjuaq. From grades 1 through 6, Mary Simon and her classmates would be punished anytime they spoke Inuktitut, the ancestral language of our mother tongue, and her Inuk mother. Leaving this establishment to be homeschooled from then on was, in her words, probably the best thing that's happened to me. Here now with her message of remembrance and reconciliation, we invite Her Excellency, the Right Honorable Mary Simon, Governor General of Canada.
Ullakut, Tungasugitsi ilunasi, Haisi Mayusi. Welcome everybody and good morning. Elders, Elder Claudette Commanda, thank you for your prayer. Survivors, Truth and Reconciliation Commissioner, Dr. Willie Littlechild. We just had a little chat in the back and we both said, we've been at this for a long time and we're still here. Welcome to our Indigenous leaders, Nathan, Obed, ministers, dignitaries, and our youth. Chers invités, bonjour. I am thankful for the welcome and teachings the elders of this unceded territory are sharing with us today, and every time we gather on these lands. So thank you. Takanigiami, Hoviasupunga, Inu Hatikanita Kohatasungalu, Amalu Asinginina Hakasi Mayunik, Dana Ilitaxia, Utigiltanga, Ilinia Simayuvini, Pimareo Lamatamani, Nunatini, Ilau Hatatut Ilunatik, Huyanamirtaka. I'm grateful to be here with all of you today to mark the 3rd National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, a day of reflection and action. Je suis honorée d'être ici avec vous aujourd'hui. I had so many emotions going through me when I was watching the memorial cloth banner. It's a visual impact of how many kids actually didn't come back home. So, what stories do we want to tell our children? This is, of course, the history of Canada, as told for the longest time, of explorers and discoveries, of taming a wild land, of settlements and confederation. But as time has passed, Canadians have come to realize that this version of history is not complete. Canada's history is so much more than that. It should reflect Indigenous histories. Certainly, our national history needs to reflect the challenges, trauma, joys, experiences, knowledge, and culture of Indigenous peoples and lives. For years, Indigenous people have been telling their stories. I am here to tell you today, Canada as a country is beginning to listen to those stories. And as you know, many of those stories have been devastating. We are gathered today to remember those stories, the stories of children taken from their homes, not just from their homes, but from their families and loved ones. The stories of the children represented in the shoes we see today on stage. Every shoe here honors the survivors of residential schools. Every shoe here commemorates the children who never made it back to their families. And for some that came home, never saw their parents again because they had passed on while they were away. These children who lie in unmarked graves across this country were never forgotten by their families nor their communities. And of course, we have the Truth and Reconciliation Commission report that has calls to action and I know people are working on those calls to action, but I just wanted to say that in addition to these reports, including missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, the unmarked graves of the children woke this country up. So I often get asked to define reconciliation. Reconciliation is a complex issue. It's complex because survivors have their own experiences and need to heal in their own time. Reconciliation is complex because there are many levels of work that is required, both at the community, within the country, across, and at the political level. C'est quoi la réconciliation? Ce n'est pas une réponse facile, mais pour moi, la réconciliation, c'est simplement le respect. Reconciliation is a way of seeing and living life. It is about being intentional in how we interact with one another, how we show respect, how we get rid of racism, how we make space to respect each other and our cultures. It means equality in the country for all, especially Indigenous people who have suffered immeasurably without the type of services that we in other parts of the country take for granted. It's a time to get to know each other. It's a time to tell our stories, a time to exchange and tell each other who we are, so that in the end, we will learn as a people of this country to be the type of people we want to be. The power of education is powerful. Truth is powerful. So when we talk about reconciliation, we want the education system to embrace and teach the Indigenous history and our lives, and also to support our Indigenous languages. Education isn't just about the academic side. Education is about our way of teaching as well, Indigenous ways of teaching. And that needs to be addressed also in our education system. And I know that it's happening in different parts of the country, so I'm not saying that it isn't happening, but we need a more unified system of how we give the full story of Canada, especially in relation to Indigenous and First Peoples of this country. I have been traveling quite a lot since I became Governor General over 2 years now, and I am seeing every day how complex it is, what is confronting us as a country, how complex it is. And when I travel across the country, I don't just stay in the city and meet with government representatives. I also go out to remote areas and communities to talk to them about their issues and their concerns and how they see reconciliation. And I've been recently to a place in Nova Scotia where there was a house that provided support and services to young people. And they deal with their trauma and their healing through art. So this is one of the things that is also important in our country. So yesterday, when I hosted an event at Rideau Hall, where we had a wonderful Indigenous artist, Meryl McMaster, she showed all the students that were there how to use art to learn more about the full history of our country and to share their hopes and dreams for a world where every child matters. Reconciliation is hope. Hope that we are building together a future that is free from racism, harm, prejudices, exclusion, and violence and injustices. Everything that has marked the lives of Indigenous people for centuries. But we must also remember how Indigenous people are working not only through their well-being, but we Indigenous people are also working with non-Indigenous Canadians. They're developing partnerships, building better communications, and better communities. It takes a long time for these things, and I understand and fully sympathize with those that are at home in small communities are continuing to suffer the inequities. Services that we have, health services, mental health support, education that's relevant to their culture and language. And I think that it's really important to remember that even though we are making progress on bigger issues, it's not necessarily having an impact at the community level. So I think we must think more about how we as leaders agree on things that we should also think about. So how is that going to impact people at the community level? So on this National Day for Truth and Reconciliation, let us all go forward with hope and ayuinata. Ayuinata in my language, in Inuktitut, means never give up, no matter what. Let us go forward with the children in our hearts and minds. Let us support the families, and let us walk this journey of reconciliation together, one step at a time. Marchons ensemble sur le chemin de la réconciliation, un pas à la fois. So thank you so much for having me today. I am with you. Thank you.
Son Excellence, la très honorable Mary Simon, gouverneure générale du Canada. Notre prochain invité dédie depuis longtemps ses efforts à la santé des nations autochtones de sa région.
Our next speaker is a proud Coast Salish. He is a decorated actor and physician who was until recently the Deputy Chief Medical Officer at Indigenous Services Canada. In his new role as Acting Associate Dean in the new medical school at Simon Fraser University, he continues to be a tireless advocate for First Nations health and well-being and a respected voice and leader for the LGBTQS+ community.
Mesdames et messieurs, voici Dr. Evan Adams.
I am an intergenerational survivor. My parents met and fell in love in residential school, the Seashelt Residential School, in 1953. And my parents had 69 3/4 years together. My father bitterly called residential school a prison, and my mother can barely stand to talk about what happened to her. But the few times she has talked about residential school, she talked about meeting my dad and falling in love. Today we remember and we must talk about what happened to those tens of thousands of Indigenous children, including my parents, subjugated, humiliated, stripped of love and care, state and church-sanctioned violations against them that we all must now live with. It is incomprehensible that adults would do that to any child, and it will be unbearable that we will be disinterring unmarked graves, identifying children via their bones and DNA, lest they be erased forever, and that we, those of us still here, must contend with what has come to pass. I was an honorary witness for the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, but I am also a son. I am here and not with my mother, but I was with her when she identified dozens of unidentified children in photographs at the Roman Catholic Archives. My sisters are at home with her, hopefully holding her hand, and we are holding the memory of our dear father between us. We collectively quell our rage, soften our hearts, and we hold each other close. It is a good day for healing. It is always a good day for healing. As we uphold survivors across the country like my mother, let us also remember those who did not make it home, those who are no longer with us, and let us call our spirits back to us. And let us also remember the imperative to love one another. Imut, Marci, Ikomiek. Aujourd'hui, nous souhaitons souligner le rôle indispensable qui jouent les intervenants dans le domaine de la santé, notamment les professionnels, les bénévoles et les aînés qui appuient les survivants à tous les jours, et ce, à travers le pays. With heartfelt gratitude, we honor the contributions of Resolution Health Support and cultural support workers. From mental health counseling to emotional and cultural support services, these health practitioners have made healing possible. Many have been on the front lines of care for decades, since before the 2006 Indian Residential School Settlement Agreement. Throughout the Truth and Reconciliation Commission process, the national inquiry into missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls, and beyond. And now I invite the very talented Mi'kmaq songstress Emma Stevens to commemorate these heroes with a special performance.
Good. Thank you, and I'm honored to be here today. I dedicate this honor song to every person whose name is listed behind me, and to so many others who continue to offer healing and support to survivors and families. Let us take a moment to acknowledge the Resolution Health Support and Culture Support workers that are present here today. I invite them to stand so we may honor them. Get me dead a manage, don't tell you no teak, nigga manshu, ke mawi donage. Get me dead a manage, don't wait a big salty, nigga manshu, ge abona marultinech, ge abona marultinech, dan kisuk deliga luksik, bulla sit kahamuk, away ya hey yo, away away hi 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 away away hi. Get me dead a manage, don't tell you no teak, nigga manshu, ke mawi dahanage. Get me dead a manage, don't wait a big salty, nigga manshu, ke abona marultinech, ke abona marultinech, don kisuk deli sit kahamug, way hey yo, away oh way hi way oh way away 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 oh way get me dead a man edge don't tell you no tig nega mashu game we da honage get me dead a man edge don't tell you no tig nega mashu Gea bona model teenage, Gea bona model teenage, Don Kisuk deliga look seek, Ulla sit kahamuk, away, hey yo, away, away.
Merci Emma Stevens pour cette très belle performance. Notre prochain invité est membre de la nation de Picogan, de l'Abitibi-Témiscamingue. Artiste ainsi que guide en nature et en culture, il est fier ambassadeur de sa communauté et de sa langue. Accueillons chaleureusement Normand Kistabiche.
Kwega kinagada siega. Gitsime skwega no numga kinagada siega. Gitsime nago zamena. Kego no gaja gidimi keme kudana an gitse mosta go me kwenda mek ka bi jeseyek. Ka bi moussadamek. Je disais tout simplement que vous êtes bédon en orange aujourd'hui, puis que faisait beau, puis je voudrais dire peut-être merci pour ça. Notre température est avec nous autres. Pour faire une courte histoire de ce que je pensais de dire, de ce que je pensais vraiment dire, il est tout oublié. Je passais à 4h30 à matin, c'est ça je vais dire, telle chose, telle chose. Puis à 6h, je me lève, je l'avais déjà oublié. Fait que... Je parle français parce que c'est la seconde langue que j'ai appris. Je ne comprenais pas français. Je ne comprenais pas que mon nom, c'était Normand Kistabiche quand je suis rentré au pensionnat. On m'a toujours appelé Moni. Moni, c'est parce que j'avais un chien qui s'appelait Moni. Puis en plus, quand j'ai appris que je m'appelais Normand Kistabiche, ils m'ont mis de côté pour me donner un numéro. 1, 2, 3. 123. Puis là, j'ai vécu toute ça de... Les séquelles du pensionnat sont tellement terribles là, que je vais mettre ça de côté parce que ça fait plusieurs fois que je parle, que j'ai parlé, que je me suis soigné de ça, en ayant un vécu pas tellement exemplaire. Moi aussi, je me suis tombé dans l'alcool, la drogue, dans le sexe. Étant un abusé du sexe par ceux qui étaient supposés nous montrer les enseignements de celui qui appelle Dieu, je ne sais pas comment qu'il l'appelait exactement, je ne comprenais pas dans ce temps-là. Avant que je décide d'apprendre le français, de m'y appliquer, c'est quand j'ai décidé que je voulais plus avoir de traitement physique. On a vécu toutes sortes de conséquences, d'humiliation. Juste pour donner un exemple, il y avait 2 garçons à peu près de mon âge dans ce temps-là qui faisaient pipi au lit. Puis là, ces enfants-là, ils se faisaient fouetter tous les matins. Puis nous autres, on était en rang, l'un à côté de l'autre, impuissants, pris dans une... Ça fait mal de le voir, puis on ne pouvait rien faire. C'est terrible. J'ai beaucoup d'amis ici de Picogan, de parenté, mes frères, mon frère et mes sœurs, des amis que je vois leur face, cousins, cousines. Je leur remercie Guy Jacques. Je n'ai pas perdu ma langue, quasiment, par exemple. Quasiment. Je suis retourné dans le bois pour le réapprendre. Avec mes beaux-parents, qui malheureusement sont partis, avec frères et sœurs, beaux-frères, qui m'ont montré comment ça s'appelle les arbres, les sortes d'arbres, le bouleau, l'érable, et toutes ces sortes d'arbres, les résineux, et même les noms des animaux. Je les connaissais un ou deux, mais pas toute la gang. Puis ça a un lien dans mon apprentissage de réapprendre ma langue. Aujourd'hui, ce que je fais pour le garder, j'écris. Je traduis ce que ça s'appelle les épisodes de documentaires sur le hockey. Le hockey, c'est un sport que j'ai aimé beaucoup, que j'étais bon au hockey. J'ai même joué contre Guy Lafleur. Puis oui, à Québec. Puis c'était un mauvais pédant, ce gars-là. Des bouts de drôle de ma vie. Hein? C'est parce que moi, je suis allé 2 fois à Québec jouer au hockey. Puis oui. Première année avec les Indiens du Québec, qu'elles nous appelaient, qui nous avaient ramassés dans Amachetouillache pour pratiquer un mois de temps avec les nouveaux coéquipiers que je ne connaissais pas. Mais je les ai connus quand même plus tard. Mais... Puis la 2e année, c'était avec l'équipe d'Amos, d'où je suis proche, là, où ce que le pensionnat était proche d'Amos en Abitibi. Pour faire une courte histoire de ce que j'ai vraiment vécu après, là, c'était terrible. Je n'ai pas été un exemplaire pour personne. J'ai fait toutes sortes de métiers, toutes sortes de quasiment professions. J'ai été chef de ma communauté. J'ai été un agent de développement économique. J'étais allé travailler dans l'Ouest en tant que cuisinier. Je changeais J'ai toujours trouvé quand même... J'étais vraiment un survivant partout où j'y allais. J'y apprenais, même mon anglais. I couldn't speak English. J'étais dans une immersion anglaise, toute seule dans le nord, dans un coin de... Tu sais, le pôle nord magnétique qu'on regarde dans le boussole, là. J'étais à 400 km, 400 000, pas kilomètres, 400 000. Puis là, j'avais juste de l'anglais, du monde qui parlait l'anglais. Qu'est-ce que je fais là-bas? Moi, pas de ça. Hein? Qu'est-ce que je faisais là-bas? Ça, c'est dans ma recherche de fuir l'alcool, la drogue, Puis là-bas où est-ce que je suis allé, il n'y en avait pas là-bas. Puis là, je me trouvais comme... Je ne sais pas comment j'expliquerais ça. En même temps, insécure parce que j'étais en manque. Puis en même temps, je voulais arrêter. Puis toute seule, j'avais un combat continuel parce que je ne demandais pas de l'aide. Puis ça, en vieillissant, j'ai compris que j'avais besoin de l'aide. Comme la plupart de ceux qui sont allés au pensionnat, qui ont fait la vie comme moi, là, vous me comprenez ce que je vais vous dire, je pense. Puis ça, j'ai transmis ça à mes enfants. Puis c'est un travail que je continue à faire, à essayer d'améliorer mon cheminement de guérison avec ma famille, ma communauté. C'est tout du monde que j'ai fait mal. Imaginez, j'ai été un chef de bande. Hein? À travers les années, je voulais juste savoir, quand ils m'ont nominé pour être chef, je voulais savoir juste comment j'étais populaire. J'ai dit oui. Puis j'ai battu mon adversaire, écrasé. Je ne veux pas être fier de ça, là, mais c'est arrivé que j'ai gagné. Puis dans ce temps-là, on commençait à prendre en charge les programmes comme l'éducation, l'administration, la santé, tranquillement, dans mon village. Au moins, ce bout-là, je l'ai fait. Et ça a continué, puis ça continue encore aujourd'hui. On n'a pas fini, non? Non. Je voudrais dire merci de m'écouter. Parce que ce que vous entendez, moi, ça me fait sortir des choses que je gardais, que je ne voulais pas dire, puis ça, je vous le donne. Ça vous appartient. Ça nous appartient parce que ça sort de moi, ça. Puis vous êtes bien dans le bout, assis devant tout orange. Es-tu mes gars, hein?
Chimigwich, Normand Kistavich.
Dan nakingulapami yung kaktigisi yavud, our final speaker has dedicated her life to the betterment of her community of Kangyakshinip, Rankin Inlet, and to Nunavut at large. Amongst her many accomplishments in healthcare and politics, she helped establish the Rankin Inlet Birthing Center. She was the first woman mayor for Rankin Inlet and was MLA for her region in the Legislative Assembly of Nunavut from 2004 to 2008.
De plus, son travail communautaire acharné continue à porter fruit encore aujourd'hui. Veuillez accueillir Dr. Lavinia Brown.
Hello to you all. My name is Lavinia Nokadla Brown. Inuktitut Nokadla means spider web. I'm a resident-to-school survivor from Rankin Inlet. I'm happy to be here today to share my truth with you. Sharing has always helped me work through the pain of resident-to-schools experience. I went to an institution in Chesterfield Inlet, Iglurigadium. It was a very scary place, filled with sadness from all of us children who were forced to be there and away from the families. I wasn't allowed to speak my language, Inuktitut. None of us. If I was caught, I was punished, beaten, We were all. And we didn't know English. So we barely speak at all. But we had each other. And we didn't often use words. How could we? There were no words. We were there for one another, trying to get through it together. I want to acknowledge that there were 3 strong Inuit survivors who bravely spoke to the Royal Commission on Aboriginal Peoples in 1987 about their experiences in residential schools. They gave us a voice, and they gave us courage to speak up of our experiences and how damaging they were. It is important that all of you and the future generation to know what happened to us, and that you hear us and acknowledge how this affected Inuit people and other nations, other Indigenous people and communities. But today I see change, especially with our young generation. They are working to regain their Inuit culture, languages, and tradition. And being here with you today and all those watching, it brings us hope. Hope for healing, hope for reconciliation, and hope for a better future for the Inuit people and other Indigenous people. There's 4 words I like to leave with you. And the 4 words have 4 letters in them. Each one have 4 letters in them. Love. Let's show more love. I see so many of you wearing orange t-shirts, something orange. I appreciate that. Care. Let's show more care for one another. Kind. Let's use that word more and pass it on to everybody. Share. I told you that sharing always makes me feel better, always makes me feel I have hope. And lastly, I'd like to thank the NCTR and staff for their hard work. Without them, I doubt if we would be here today. Ako yan ako siya ang iyamin, aksyon makayal.
Nos remerciements, Dr. Lavinia Brown, Miigwech, pour ce témoignage inspirant. Nous arrivons déjà à la fin du programme, mais avant de se quitter, une dernière performance d'un artiste qui est sans aucun doute une des flèches montantes de sa génération grâce à la puissance de sa voix et de sa démarche artistique.
Many of the songs on his first album were inspired by his grandfather, who shared his experiences as a survivor of Macintosh Residential School in Ontario. Tungasukti Asenabi.
Does it feel like we're on the edge? Staring down a certain day. But does it feel like the story ends before it starts? So we were here, and these fading memories don't we were here. And these fleeting stories only were here. And these days appearing words even when they start losing meaning. It's in our blood. It's in our blood. Oh, it's in our blood. It's in my blood. As we come, we go, just like the days is light and dark, then no morning rain. I guess I know, just like the snow, we fall, we never fade away. A month, a day, a week, a year, just like to say that we were here. So we were here, and these fading memories, so we were here. And these fleeting stories, so we were here. And these disappearing words, even when they start losing meaning. It's in my blood. It's in my blood. Oh, Lord. It's in my blood. It's in my blood.
We conclude this afternoon, much like we began, with ceremony. As we retire the Eagle staff and Bentwood box, nous vous invitons à rester sur les lieux encore un temps pour continuer cette commémoration ensemble.
On behalf of the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation, Nakurmek, for being here with us to honor residential school survivors and to remember those who did not make it home. And we encourage everyone to read the recommendations of the TRC because it's all up to us to make sure reconciliation isn't just an idea, but an action.
Au nom du Centre national pour la vérité et la réconciliation, merci d'avoir participé aujourd'hui. Miigwech, Nyawengoa.
Nakurmek, ilunase, unluhatsiata.
And if I may, Madeline, Nakurmik to you, it's been a really wonderful moment getting to spend this moment with you again and hosting this wonderful event. Nakurmik.
Asugut, merci beaucoup for you. I'm honored that they invited us back on stage this year. And thank you, all of you, for being amazing audiences in the beautiful sun. We go home darker than we came.
And we had an eagle circling the grounds earlier on today. Let's hope that by dancing together and sending a lot of good vibes up to the sky, the eagles will come back and visit us as we dance all together. Merci beaucoup à tous. Thank you.
Nakurmek.
Alors, ne quittez pas trop vite, ne quittez pas trop vite. Nous avons encore un artiste à vous présenter. We still have one more artist to introduce to you. C'est un artiste qui nous vient du Nunavut. Les grands espaces, la chasse au caribou et la culture inuit sont au cœur de son œuvre.
Dan Igluring Mingak Tilugu from Iglulik Nunavut, our final performer. He is a husband, he is a father, he's a hunter, he's a dog teamer, and lots of other things, all of which inspires his rich storytelling and songwriting.
Alors, nous allons avoir l'occasion de l'avoir sur scène dans quelques instants. Il se tient prêt à venir vous rejoindre sur scène. Et nous aurons l'occasion enfin de danser tous ensemble. On se souvient qu'on veut garder les énergies les plus élevées possibles. We want to keep our spirits up. We want to bring those eagles back to the grounds.
Tungasuk titauli, tana Igluring Mingak Tilugu, atuinauli Terry. All right, let's give a beautiful Ottawa welcome, everyone. Terry Uyagak.
Kisani atomirugo Sikina nuiraya nermio Nagli unijangitegi Kaumana yasinina nijangitegi Tigo Yana Ruti Karami Ik ben naar je neergezocht Thema te bewegzamen Ako sa taon na po Bitakang itumi Tu quisiera tuning Tu quisiera tuning Exuram na mini Vietnamese.
great way to end the event. La courbe Terry. Et merci encore à vous tous et on espère revoir beaucoup d'entre vous l'année prochaine s'il y a un autre événement qui a lieu autour de cette date très importante.
Tigo